Hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Arlyne Chinyanganya, and today it's going to be a little bit of a working session. So we will keep an eye out on the chat function to make sure that all your questions are answered. And also, if there's any other questions afterwards, feel free to contact me. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can see my full name on here, Arlyne Chinyanganya. And you can also contact me on Instagram at Roots to Fruits, the platforms as well. We're on all platforms, so you can just look out for Roots to Fruits and then send a question. But we're hoping to be able to answer all your questions today. And before we get into any detail introduction, so I am the founder of Roots to Fruits, which is a financial wellness company where we support individuals and business owners to manage their finances. And yeah, so hopefully you can learn a little bit from myself today. It's going to be just about savings and investments, not financial advice, because I'm not a financial advisor, but guidance and education is what you're going to get today. I've been a qualified accountant for a number of years now, been working in various organizations as well. So we will have a more business focused session in a couple of weeks, but today it's just all around saving and investing. So yeah, a little bit more about Roots to Fruits. Coaching, we offer coaching events as well, where we have workshops similar to this one. We also have in-person stuff that we do. We can see who we're trusted by all those logos, which is really fantastic. Now award winning as well, with like the Businesswoman Awards and the top 50 women in accounting. And yeah, Pension Bee sponsors our podcast too. So you're in safe hands. Okay, because we don't have loads and loads of time, that's a little bit about myself. And yeah, in terms of yourselves, I've got a bit of a profile about who in the room and who's going to watch this later on, but you are people that want to get a bit more confident with managing their finances. So in today's session, we're going to be going over kind of like why saving is important and why we should focus on that first before we get into the kind of investments segment. And also we're going to be talking about emergency funds. What does that mean? Looking at your mindset and your behavior too. So before we get too much into the detail of savings and investment, I just wanted to touch on the key things that you should be doing before we get there. So the 5 steps to financial wellness that we're calling them. So the first thing you want to do is set a goal, and we're going to do a little bit of a practical exercise, and I'm going to trust that you're doing it along with me as well, because this is a bit of a virtual session. So I'm going to trust that you're going to do it, and I'm going to trust that you're going to do your homework as well. So first thing we want to do is to set a goal. Usually people set goals at the start of the year, but you can do this at any time. Honestly, it's up to you when you want to kind of sit down, set a goal. It could be every month, it could be every quarter. And I'll just talk through kind of the key things that you need to be thinking about when you do that. And then the second thing you'd like to do is to set a budget, because yes, we're going to get into kind of the savings and how we can have more left. But how can you work that out if you don't understand what's coming in and what's going out of your bank account? So it's really important for you to sit down and just kind of do a budget first, just to understand where you can cut some costs or where you can increase your income. We're also going to focus on, managing your debt effectively. We're not going into too much detail on that, but it is one of the key things here, because we constantly are thinking about, okay, I would like more money. I would like to grow my wealth. I'd like to invest in XYZ. But we've got debt that's higher than what we've got in our savings. So it's really important to also give time to paying off your key debts. So on your finance date that you might have every so often, that's one of the key things that you really need to kind of zoom into. And then of course, we already said savings. So we're going to get into the detail of that now, and then also investing for your future. So I'd say these are the 5 fundamental things that you need to be focusing on when you're on your financial wellness journey. Okay, so I mentioned budget because, again, it's really important to just kind of understand where to start. So Your budget is essentially a plan. It is a tool. It's something that you can use to just understand where you're going from A to B. So when you set yourself kind of like, okay, each month, or you could do this weekly if you're someone that is paid on a weekly basis, or you could do this every so often, quarterly, if things don't change too much for you, just see what works best for you. But you want to just assess like, okay, sit down and you write down a list of these are all my expenses, and we can split them between variable, fixed expenses, and kind of other, like your fun expenses. I do have a Roots to Fruits template that I can send out the link to or add it to the chat function in a bit that you can use to support you with this. But essentially, other people like kind of paper versions of stuff, or you can literally just sit down, pen and paper, write down all your expenses using your bank statement. Now we know, like, maybe on a monthly basis you spend £2,000. Already we have a number that we're like, okay, I now know what my behavior is like. Cool. Second thing you want to do is then look at what's actually coming in. So what's your income? If you're paid on a monthly basis and it's always the same, then this is really easy for you. But if you're someone that invoices, or maybe you are someone that works on an hourly or a daily rate, then this might change depending on how much you work or how much you don't work. So you want to then sit down and write down the past 3 months, the past 6 months, what's happened in the past, and then just put an average for that going forward, because we can't see into the future. But if you can then write down a number like, okay, on average, I get in about £2,500. Now we know £2,500 minus £2,000 means I have £500 left at the end of each month, or I should. And a lot of people usually say that I just don't understand, where's my money going? But at least now you've got like a little bit of an idea of this is what it should look like. Now you can start to assess going forward what's actually going on and call yourself upon it if things aren't going to plan. So yeah, you can create a budget in very different formats, and also you could download certain apps as well. There's Emma app, there's Your Juno as well. There's loads of different places that you can have an electronic version. I like my Excel version. And even on Monzo, I believe there's a way of like creating a way where you can see like what's your expenditure versus your income. So yeah, there's so many tools out there. Hopefully you won't struggle to find one, but if you do, again, reach out to myself and hopefully I can support with that. So that was a brief kind of budget conversation. So remember, on our list, we said that first you want to set a goal. So my slides aren't in the right order. So we said we want to set a goal. We would like a budget. So this is the part where we kind of think about setting your goals. Oh, actually, it was in the right order. It's because now we're talking about our 4S saving framework. So forgive me. The first thing, again, when you're saving is to like set a specific goal, like how much you would like to save. So getting into the details of that, and I hope you've got your pen and your paper. Bring that out. I'll give you literally 10 seconds to grab that, or if you've got your notes book or app, or even if you have your Excel, something, bring that out so then you can write it down right now. And then you're not coming back to it later on as homework. If now you've got your paper or your notebook, what we want to think about is, okay, I have my short-term and my long-term goals. If we're thinking short-term, it's really up to 12 months is short-term, and the long-term is anything from 12 months to maybe 5 years. After 5 years, really, we're thinking that's a dream, that's in the future, and things change too much to set a goal for longer than that, but you definitely can. But for this context, we're just thinking short term is within the next 12 months and long term is within kind of the next 5 years. So the way that you do this, I hope you've heard of it before, but if you haven't, we want to set some SMART goals. So that acronym stands for specific. So you want to be clear about, what you want to actually achieve. Let's be specific. Let's not say, I would like to save some money. Some isn't specific. If you say, I would like to save £5,000. Now we're getting into it. So yeah, we want it to be specific. We want it to be measurable. So track your progress. And if you say, I'd like to save £5,000, then each month you can track like, okay, how much have I saved so far? How is it looking compared to my original goal? So make sure that it is actually measurable. And usually if you put a number to it, then you can measure it. We want it to be achievable as well. So I am an ambitious person. I always say this when I'm talking through this slide, that I set the most outrageous goals, but I think that's not too much of a bad thing. But if it demotivates you, if you do not achieve that goal, then you need to be mindful. But I always say kind of aim high as you can. But yeah, we also want to make sure that it is achievable. I can't say like, oh yeah, next year I'm going to be a billionaire when I'm not even a millionaire right now. Stranger things have happened, but we want to make sure that is actually achievable. So for now, one of my goals is to get 6 figures within the business. So I think that's achievable. It is aiming high, but it's still achievable. And yeah, you want it to be relevant as well. So make sure that it aligns with like your big life goals. So maybe you've just started a family. If you've just started a family, you want to make sure that you're not setting goals that are not aligned with the family's goals, right? And maybe you just got engaged. So if you just got engaged and you're saving up for a wedding, you can't really be thinking about saving up for other things because that's where your money is going. So we need to make sure that it is relevant to your life. And another point is to then talk to your family members. It could be your partner, it could be your family, like your parents, your brothers, sisters, your friends, your chosen family, whoever, or people that you live with, housemates. The key people that are important to you, that are tied to your finances, make sure that you're talking to them, that your goals are aligned with them. Make sure that it's also time bound. Have it clear within 12 months. This is why it's important that I put these 2 columns, so then we know by which date would you have achieved this goal. So yeah, there's a couple of examples here. Apologies, my slides just put everything on here. It's because I converted it to a Google slide. But yeah, you can already see everything. But yeah, my short-term goals are to pay off some debt, and then the saving goal is to save for holiday in 2026. So have a certain amount, which is £2,000 by March 2026. And then one of my long-term goals is to buy a property that is like my forever home. So that will be in the long term by 2028. Said all that, and you can come back to this and then pause, but the idea is for you to write down maybe 2 or 3 during this workshop, and you can just kind of come back to it, communicate it as well, again, as said, with your loved ones, or feel free to share as well in the chat function. And then I'll kind of read through it in a second when I've stopped sharing the screen. But yeah, so that's what we'll do. First, we want to set a goal. Okay, so within our saving framework, which is really just a way of just keeping things together, first we set a goal. The second thing now we want to do is to set up a standing order. I bring this up as a point because, as obvious as it might be, even I sometimes have a goal and I want to do XYZ, maybe like pay off something or save for something, and then I'm going into the bank app on the 5th of the month when I got paid on the 25th, and then now I'm setting up the payment, the savings from one account to the other. And it's a little bit like, okay, maybe if you just set it up as an automatic payment, as soon as you get paid, then it comes out. You almost have paid yourself first, and you've made sure that that goal is ticked off first before other direct debits and before life happens and you go and buy yourself a pair of shoes or get some takeaway or whatever it is. So the next thing we want to do is to make sure that you've automated everything. So that's within your banking app. You can easily do this, set up a standing order. You can also create one of these bank accounts you can set up a bank account where you're a regular saver. Therefore, they create the standing order for you. It's almost like a direct debit. It has to come out. And when you have like a regular saver or, these higher interest rate ones, then you know that you're going to get back a lot of money rather than using the savings accounts that are really flexible, that are barely giving you anything back. So yeah, look at what's available and shop around as well when you're setting up this bank account, which lends to my separate pots point. So the third S is to have some separate pots. So what do I mean by that? Let's say that we've just talked about different goals, right? So if you've got maybe 3 goals, one is to save up for a boiler, I don't know, and then the other is to save up for a car, and the other is to just save up for your retirement. Well, it's really hard to know what your progress is if all these savings are going into one bank account, and it's really hard to hold yourself accountable as well, because maybe that's where your emergency fund is as well. So then you're always taking money out of there and you're saving for holidays and you're taking money from the same. So then how much have we actually saved for that car? We don't know. So you want to set separate pots. And the amazing thing now is that sometimes when you set up a pot, a savings pot, you have a goal. I know Monzo do this really easily. Hopefully other banking apps too, where you have like, okay, I would like to save £1,000, and then it's tracking it for you, which is quite nice. Or you can do this in your budgeting app as well, or you can do this in your Excel document or your book, whatever. So you can just be tracking it like, okay, I'm 50% away from my goal now. And if you have separate pots, then you can clearly see what it's for. And the chances are for you to take that money out are a lot slimmer now, because you want to stick to your goal. And it feels amazing when you've reached that goal as well. But if it's muddied up, it's really hard to know. So yeah, I'd say set separate pots. Shop around for different rates as well. You can go on Martin Lewis's Money Saving Expert website to find some different interest rates that are out there that might be really competitive. And a quick note that savings rates might be going down right now at the point of recording, which is August, because the Bank of England, the interest rates is just gone to 4%, which is good if you're a borrower, but not so good if you're a saver. But still, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a horrendous thing. But yeah, I digress. We want to also stick to the plan. Stick to the plan is my final point when you're saving. And this is the part that trips up a lot of people, including myself, because I am someone, as I said, I'm ambitious and I always have different ideas to do X, Y, Z. So if you kind of go away and like say, this is what I'm going to do, but you haven't automated certain things and then you're not sticking to the plan, it might demotivate you or derail you. And you might be thinking, how come I haven't achieved X, Y, Z? And it could be because you haven't stuck to the plan, but you need a plan in the first place in order for you to stick to it. So yeah, but not to be too demotivated. When life happens, life happens. Maybe if you lose your job or your contracts aren't going as well, and then you can't achieve the goal that you initially set, it's okay. You can revise it. So yeah, those are the points when you're saving. And the next thing that was on our agenda, I'm just going to do a little time check. Okay, we're good. The next thing on our agenda was to look at your emergency fund. So an emergency fund, it's also called like a sunk cost or sunk pot. It's essentially a pot of money that you have put away in case of an emergency. Literally, it's in the title. And it helps you when anything unexpected happens, especially when something that's really kind of emotional. Let's say, I don't know, your car's just been wrecked and it's hard to get money from insurance, but you really need your car to get to work, and it's high emotional stuff. Another example for me was our boiler broke last year in 2024. I needed like £4,000 to buy a new boiler because it came with a tank and everything. And it was a huge shock because it's a lot of money to come straight out of my bank account, and I didn't want to pay with debt. So when things like that happen, if you've got the pot of money on the side, although it hurts to spend a lot of money in one go that you didn't expect, but it's at least easier because you've saved for it. And let's say that something happens, a lot of layoffs are being announced at the moment. And apologies if you are someone who's already been laid off and you know how it feels. But if you have your emergency fund on the side, then it feels better. It feels like, okay, I can use this money. I've got some time. I've got some time to look for a new job. And yeah, so in terms of like the guidance, it's 3 to 6 months worth. And it sounds like, well, where am I going to find that? Let's say you've got an income of £2,000 and you want to save like £6,000. It feels like a really, really big goal, of course. But if you start now and then you're saving towards it, over some time, over the next few years, like 2.5, if you were to save like 20% of your income, depending on what you're on, then you can save that within a couple of years. And since it's an emergency fund, this is something that you just want to make sure that you're putting an amount away every month, aside from your other goals, which are more fun, like buying a car or buying XYZ. So that's the point here in terms of like making sure that your financial wellness is looked after by looking after yourself in the future by saving as much as you can right now in case of an emergency. So that's that one. Before we get into kind of like investments, I just wanted to double check that we're all tracking. So I'm just going to come out of sharing so then we can do a little bit of a Q&A, and then I can get into the you hit pause. I can see a few people are on live. If you've got any questions, I'm just looking at the chat function now. If you've got any questions around what we've already discussed, or if you want me to elaborate a little bit more around savings, then please feel free to ask, and then we'll get into investments in a minute. Okay, that's okay. No worries if we don't have live questions. I will go ahead and share my screen again so then we can see the slides around investing, because I think everyone's really here for investments. Okay, so there's loads of different things that you can invest in. I think when people are thinking about this, from the surveys that I've done and from the Q&As that I've done with maybe family members and Roots to Fruits members as well, some things that they mention is that I want to invest so that I can retire early, or I want to invest so that I can make more money quicker. I want to double it. I want to double the amount that I have in my bank account. And that's understandable. So do I. But when you're thinking of investment, we need to be a bit more measured in terms of like the riskier stuff that we could do. Investments really are meant to be there to grow over time. Sometimes you can be lucky and you can invest your money in something and then it brings you back a lot of money in a very short time. That could be the lucky few, but a lot more people invest a little bit, maybe £100, maybe £200 per month, and then that will bring them back like an 8%, 10% return over like 25 years sort of thing. And we can be really lucky and benefit from compounding interest as well. If you're investing and then you're getting back an amount and that stays in that pot, that means that over 25 years, it can really grow into something really significant. And that's what happens with your pensions, for example. Because when you look at your payslip, your pension's not that much, but actually it grows over time. And then if you look at, how much have I saved in the past 4 years? And how much have I invested and got back? If they've invested correctly, then you'll notice that actually you've made a lot of money from it. So that's what I'll say when we're thinking about investing. Like, really do your research before we get into any specifics that I've written down here. And this is just 6 that I've just said. You can invest in a lot of other things, to be honest. Loads of assets that you can look into. But the popular one are stocks and shares, So you can invest in companies. So this is like a share of a specific company, and also you can have some index funds where it is a pot of various companies. So for example, you've got the FTSE 100, so that's the top 100 companies in the UK. So you are investing in all those different companies, but it's just a small share. And the reason why people invest in index funds is because they are meant to be less risky compared to like when you just buy a stock in one company, then you're banking on that company kind of being profitable and not going under. So yeah, that's what you could do. And in terms of the platforms where you can go, and again, this isn't investment advice, but platforms that I've used in the past are Vanguard, I've used Moneybox in the past, and yeah, eToro as well. There's lots of different platforms. Please do your own research and ask around as well for people that you know, like what's worked, and do research online. There are loads of reviews too. But yeah, that's one of them. And so as stocks and shares, I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but if you've got any specific questions, please feel free to use the chat function. And then the next thing are your bonds. So this is essentially kind of like an IOU, a bond. There are countries that will have bonds and they use that to raise money, and you can buy, like you can invest in getting a bond like in the UK, and then you have to research to see like what's actually safe. So there are certain countries where maybe their bonds are a little bit more riskier. So yeah, if you're going to kind of go for the ones that we know of, like in the UK, for example, it's less risky. Therefore, like the returns are not as much as you would get in like stocks and shares, for example, but they're meant to be more guaranteed for you to get your money back. But yeah, so you can do this again online, just kind of research which ones to go into. Again, I can't kind of point you into a specific direction with investing especially, but that's another thing that you could do. And another one is within real estate. So depending on how much you have, so first we want to make sure that we've saved up. Let's say that you've got some savings, or you've inherited some money, or you are just trying to put away a certain amount each month. That could determine what you invest in. I feel like real estate is more kind of like if you've got a serious pot of money and you're like, okay, I want to invest in something and then see the returns in maybe 5-10 years time, then you could invest in real estate. And what does this actually even mean? There's loads of different type of properties that you can invest in. So we're thinking maybe Airbnb. A lot of people have been making some money from that, or buying a house and then flipping it, doing some work on it, making sure that the value increases and then flipping it afterwards. Another real estate option that you could have is literally just buying a property, live in it, and then it appreciates in value, and then sell it, and then you get some capital gains from that. So yeah, that's another one. I know that's a whole kind of section on its own, and we're going to have a property developer and a property investor on the From Roots to Fruits podcast. So if you want to check that out, which is a little plug if you don't mind. But yeah, so we're going to have someone that is investing heavily in this that can advise us on what to do and where to go. But this is definitely another avenue. And before I go on, a reminder that your capital is at risk. Honestly, if you're putting money somewhere, then you need to be comfortable with it disappearing. You need to be comfortable with like not getting the same returns as you put in, because it's meant to be a risk. High risk, high returns, that sort of thing. Low risk, low returns. So the next thing is you can invest in a business as well. So this is something that I've personally done. I looked at my Roots to Fruits balance sheet to see how much money as a director I've put into the business, and it is a crazy amount. But it is an investment because it's something that I'm passionate about, and I expect to see some returns over time from this business. what's the difference between this business, like my business, and kind of like stocks and shares. The difference is that with my own business, it's also my time that is going into it. It is my labor. And yeah, maybe it could be that you're investing in a family member's business as well. But there's a difference between that and investing in stocks and shares, where it's determined by a lot more other external factors, which is why I put it on its own here. But yeah, I know a lot of you are freelancers, or you might have already set up your own business, so you're already investing in yourself. So that is something that you need to be really proud of. Definitely something that I tell myself as well. And as much as you can put in to then get your returns out, definitely do that, because you can sell a business if you make sure that it's valuable and you can find someone to buy it, then you would have gotten some returns from it. There are other assets too that you can invest in. So for example, I'll put on there like art, for example, it appreciates in value. Certain cars are a depreciating asset, but there are certain cars that are kind of investments because they actually go up in value because of their make, because of their brand, because of various other things. So that could be an investment too. Yeah, so there's other things that you can get outside of just, property, that are an asset that you can then get more money. Watches as well. I'm just trying to think, jewelry and gold and things like that. So again, do your research before you put your money towards something. Yeah, I'm interested in learning as well. If you guys are active in the chat, what have you invested in already, or what are you interested in investing? Because one thing that I haven't put on here is cryptocurrency, simply because, not that I'm against it, I'm definitely for it. I know a lot of people that made so much money, so know people that have lost money from it too. So it's not something that I'm a specialist in, so I haven't put it on here, but a lot of people do invest in cryptocurrency. And again, do your research, make sure that you know where you're putting your money towards. And lastly, to be of an optimist one, is like yourself. You can invest in yourself, which is similar to the business point. So let's say that you're going to university, or I know I'm speaking to people that have roles here, but if you were to go back into education, or if you were to invest in a course, for example, then you're investing in yourself. You're putting money towards kind of your own growth, your personal growth, and investing in your own self-care as well, just so you're well. And then if you're well, then you can bring in more money. So that's one that I feel like is overlooked quite a lot, but because we're financial wellness, I have to throw it in there. Okay, so those are all my points whilst I just drink some water. But please feel free to ask questions if there was a specific kind of investment vehicle that you're looking into at the moment. And I mentioned earlier, in terms of our agenda, that we want to check where we're at. So on the Roots to Fruits website, we've got a quiz. It's completely free, and also you can do it now or you can do it later, where you are checking what your financial wellness is at the moment. And it's a mix of loads of different things. It's not just about savings and investment. It's also around kind of like your pension. It's also around your debt repayments as well, and other things like, do you even have a budget? So just check your score right now. And then in maybe 3 to 6 months, you can come back to it, do the quiz again, and see how your score can improve. So that was a little bit of a fun exercise for us to do. And then I mentioned the budgeting tool. So we've got a free one if you subscribe to Roots to Fruits, but also you could download a template that is really easy to use, and it shows how your wealth grows over time. And then you can, as we mentioned before, when you're budgeting, you're putting down your expenses and you're putting down your income, so that you can work out, okay, how much can I even save every month, and not to be disheartened at first when it feels like there's nothing left at the end of the month. If you're working on kind of clearing down your expenses, in no time you will have a handle on it. Okay, so just a reminder of what we have learned today. it's saving why it comes first, but before all of that, thinking about budgeting, thinking about setting a goal, and then like around the 4S saving framework, how can I even save? And then thinking about your emergency fund as well, why that's important and how you can set one up, through to now let's think about my long-term goals. What is my long term? What do I want to invest in? How much do I even want to save for my long term? Like how much do I want to save for my pension, for example? So those were all our key points, and the mindset aspect of it is that you can do it. You just probably need the right tools, and looking at this at a practical perspective. And also if you're on this session, or you're listening back later on, it means that you care about your financial well-being. So you already have the right mindset. You just need to follow through. Okay, so that was all. If you have any questions, again, we had left a time for Q&A so that you can just ask your specific questions and I can answer them. But that was the presentation. I've just stopped sharing so I can see questions in here. Amazing, Sarah. Thank you for following on LinkedIn. I will definitely connect back with you, and yeah, any questions, feel free to ask. And hi, Nicola, I just saw your hello over there. But yeah, I can't see any in the chat function, which is okay. As we mentioned, people are going to be watching back, and I've shared kind of how you can grab my information. And just to give you the website for you to jump on the financial wellness quiz, here you are. So then you can just quickly do that in your own time. And yeah, I hope you have set those goals at the start of the session, and looking forward to you improving on your financial wellness. I'll be really, really happy to learn about your journey. But I think that is all from me, unless Anna, if you have anything to note. No worries.